Still learning peace after emotionally surviving too much. My heart became emotionally restless from holding pain for far too long to touch. I'm still learning peace, and honestly it feels unfamiliar sometimes. Not emotionally preparing for disaster, not emotionally replaying old nights inside my mind. There was a time silence scared me, because silence emotionally meant pain. But now quiet rainy evenings feel emotionally softer in my brain. I still carry certain memories, still emotionally ache once in a while. But emotional pain no longer follows me through every lonely mile. And honestly, that already feels like healing. I'm still learning peace, that's the truth I realized tonight. Healing does not emotionally happen instantly. It slowly teaches your heart how to breathe right. I am still learning peace, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly as emotional calm slowly grows. And mine finally started growing too. I stopped emotionally chasing answers, stopped emotionally searching for closure every day. Because emotional exhaustion finally taught me some heartbreak cannot emotionally be explained away. Now midnight rain sounds comforting instead of emotionally making me break. And honestly, emotional calm feels beautiful after surviving heartbreak. But it took losing myself to understand that deeply. I'm still learning peace, and maybe healing looks this way too. I'm not emotionally becoming fearless, but emotionally becoming gentle with you. I'm still learning peace, and maybe that's enough for now. I no longer emotionally need chaos to emotionally feel alive somehow. And honestly, that realization changed me quietly. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Your heart does not need emotional perfection to emotionally deserve a peaceful place. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally softer tonight. Somehow I'm still learning peace, and honestly, I think my heart finally wants to stay here. Your voice feels distant lately, even inside my memories now. The way you used to emotionally comfort me feels harder to emotionally reach somehow. Your voice feels distant lately, like an old song fading away. Still beautiful in certain moments, just emotionally farther every day. I used to replay our conversations every lonely night before sleep, trying to emotionally hold on to feelings my heart could no longer keep. But time changes emotional attachment in quiet, invisible ways. And honestly, healing sometimes hides hides inside ordinary passing days. I think mine started hiding there too. Your voice feels distant lately. That's how I know healing exists. Not because emotional love disappeared, but because emotional pain no longer fully persists. Your voice feels distant lately. Now I know some memories emotionally soften as emotional distance grows, and mine quietly started growing too. I stopped emotionally fearing silence, stopped emotionally searching old messages at night, because emotional exhaustion finally taught me not every heartbreak can emotionally be made right. Now rainy midnight evenings feel emotionally calmer somehow, and honestly peaceful loneliness feels softer than emotional chaos now. But I never imagined I would emotionally say that before. Your voice feels distant lately, and maybe healing sounds this way too. Not emotionally forgetting someone, but emotionally surviving without needing to. Your voice feels distant lately, and maybe that's okay tonight. Some heartbreak emotionally fades slowly as your heart relearns emotional light. And I think mine is finally relearning that light now. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Some emotional recoveries happen quietly, long before your heart fully recognizes the change. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally calmer tonight somehow. Your voice feels distant lately, and honestly, I think that distance finally stopped hurting so loudly. The nights feel softer lately, not emotionally empty anymore. The silence used to emotionally break me. Now it feels emotionally gentle somehow. The nights feel softer lately, and honestly I notice that now. I no longer emotionally fear midnight the way I emotionally used to somehow. There was a time rainy evenings made every memory hurt again. I carried emotional loneliness into every quiet corner of my head. But slowly something changed inside me. The emotional pressure faded slow, and honestly healing arrived quietly before I fully emotionally noticed it though. And maybe quiet healing still counts too. The nights feel softer lately. That's how I know I survived enough pain. Not because heartbreak disappeared completely, but because emotional peace returned again. The nights feel softer lately, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly as emotional calm slowly grows, and mine finally started growing too. I stopped emotionally chasing old versions of people who no longer emotionally stayed. Because emotional exhaustion finally taught me some heartbreak must emotionally fade away. Now midnight rain feels comforting instead of emotionally making me fall apart. And honestly, emotional safety feels beautiful after protecting a tired heart. But I never understood peace until now. The nights feel softer lately, and maybe recovery feels this way too. Not emotionally becoming someone new, just emotionally becoming softer with what hurt you. The nights feel softer lately, and maybe that's enough tonight. I no longer emotionally need chaos to emotionally feel alive. And honestly, that realization changed me deeply. If this feels familiar, please trust slow healing. Some emotional recoveries happen quietly, long before your heart fully believes them. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally lighter tonight somehow. The nights feel softer lately, and honestly, I think my heart finally feels safe here. I don't chase closure anymore, and honestly, that changed my life. There was a time I emotionally believed answers would somehow make everything feel right. I don't chase closure anymore. Not every explanation heals the pain. Some people leave emotional confusion that your heart simply learns to carry differently with time again. I used to replay every ending, searching emotionally for hidden meaning, trying to emotionally understand why loving someone could still leave me bleeding. But emotional exhaustion taught me some questions emotionally stay incomplete. And honestly, peace finally arrived when I stopped emotionally begging for clarity. And maybe acceptance sounds exactly like that. I don't chase closure anymore. That's how I know healing finally grew. Not because emotional scars disappeared, but because I stopped emotionally depending on you. I don't chase closure anymore, and now I know some heartbreak emotionally softens when emotional searching slows. And mine finally started slowing too. I stopped emotionally revisiting old messages, stopped emotionally imagining different endings. Because emotional recovery finally taught me peace does not always arrive through understanding. Now rainy midnight silence feels emotionally calmer somehow. And honestly, emotional freedom feels softer than emotional chaos now. But it took heartbreak to understand that deeply. I don't chase closure anymore, and maybe growth feels this way too. Not emotionally needing every answer, to emotionally continue moving through. I don't chase closure anymore, and maybe that's enough tonight. Some heartbreak emotionally heals slowly, 'cause your heart relearns emotional life. I think mine is finally relearning that light now. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Not every emotional ending means complete understanding. To emotionally leave its place. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally lighter tonight. Somehow I don't chase closure anymore. And honestly, I think my heart finally stopped running in circles. Rain helps somehow. I never understood why before, but rainy midnight silence feels emotionally comforting now more than ever before. Rain helps somehow, maybe because it sounds like release, like the world emotionally breathing slower, like my heart finally finding peace. There was a time storms emotionally matched me. Everything inside felt heavy too. Every lonely night carried memories that emotionally pulled me back to you. But now rain feels different somehow, less emotionally painful than before. The sadness still quietly exists, it just doesn't emotionally destroy me anymore. And honestly, I think healing changed that. Rain helps somehow, that's what I realized tonight. Not every emotional recovery arrives loudly. Sometimes it softly changes your life. Rain helps somehow, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly, while midnight rain still flows, and mine quietly started healing too. I stopped emotionally fighting silence, stopped emotionally fearing lonely nights, because emotional exhaustion finally taught me not every quiet moment hides emotional fights. Now city lights through rainy windows feel emotionally beautiful somehow. And honestly, emotional calm feels safer than emotional chaos now. Heartbreak taught me to appreciate peace slowly. Rain helps somehow, and maybe comfort feels this way too. Not emotionally erasing the sadness, just emotionally making it easier to move through. Rain helps somehow, and maybe that's enough tonight. Some heartbreak emotionally soften slowly as your heart relearns emotional light. And I think mine is finally relearning that light now. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Sometimes emotional comfort arrives quietly inside ordinary moments you almost ignore at first place. Now I'm standing near the window, feeling emotionally softer tonight. Somehow rain helps somehow, and honestly, I think my heart needed nights like this. Nothing hurts loudly anymore, and honestly I notice that now the sadness still quietly visits. It just no longer emotionally pulls me down. Nothing Nothing hurts loudly anymore. Not the memories, not the rain, not the lonely midnight moments that once emotionally overwhelmed my brain. There was a time heartbreak followed me into every ordinary day. Even small reminders emotionally hurt in ways I could never fully explain. But healing slowly softened something inside my tired, restless chest. And honestly, emotional peace feels unfamiliar but beautiful nevertheless. And I think my heart finally needed that softness. Nothing hurts loudly anymore. That's how I know recovery exists. Not because emotional scars disappeared, but because emotional pain no longer emotionally persists. Nothing hurts loudly anymore. And now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly as emotional calm slowly grows. And mine quietly started growing too. I stopped emotionally revisiting old endings, stopped emotionally replaying every mistake. Because emotional exhaustion finally taught me some heartbreak cannot emotionally stay the same forever this way. Now rainy midnight silence feels emotionally peaceful somehow. And honestly, emotional safety feels softer than emotional chaos now. But heartbreak taught me to appreciate calm slowly. Nothing hurts loudly anymore, and maybe healing feels this way too. Not emotionally forgetting the sadness, just emotionally surviving without drowning in it like you used to. Nothing hurts loudly anymore, and maybe that's enough tonight. Some heartbreak emotionally fades slowly as your heart relearns emotional light. And I think mine is finally relearning that light now. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Some emotional recoveries happen quietly, long before your heart fully recognizes the change. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally lighter tonight somehow. Nothing hurts loudly anymore, and honestly, I think peace finally sounds like this. Maybe we outgrew this, and honestly that thought hurts softly now. Not like heartbreak used to hurt before, just emotionally quieter somehow. Maybe we outgrew this, not because love completely disappeared, but because time emotionally changed us in ways we never fully noticed through the years. There was a time we understood each other without emotionally needing many words. Now conversations feel distance sometimes, like two hearts emotionally missing what they once heard. And honestly, I stopped blaming us for that. People emotionally grow in different ways. Sometimes love survives the changes, sometimes it quietly fades, and maybe ours quietly faded too. Maybe we outgrew this. That's what I finally realized tonight. Not every emotional ending happens because someone emotionally stopped trying to fight. Maybe we outgrew this, and now I know some relationships emotionally soften as emotional distance slowly grows, and ours slowly grew that way too. I stopped emotionally forcing old versions of who we used to be, because emotional exhaustion finally taught me some love stories cannot emotionally stay frozen forever peacefully. No rainy midnight silence feels emotionally comforting somehow. And honestly, acceptance feels safer than emotional chaos now. But heartbreak taught me that maybe we outgrew this, and maybe healing feels this way too. Not emotionally hating the memories, just emotionally understanding they no longer fit you. Maybe we outgrew this, and maybe that's enough tonight. Some heartbreak emotionally changes people before emotionally guiding them toward different lives. And maybe we're finally walking toward ours now. If this feels familiar, please trust emotional growth. Not every relationship ends from failure. Sometimes people emotionally evolve beyond what once felt close. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally calmer tonight. Somehow, maybe we outgrew this. And honestly, I think acceptance finally sounds like this. I finally feel safe, and honestly, I almost cried realizing that there was a time emotional peace felt impossible for my heart to have. I finally feel safe, not because life became perfect overnight, but because my heart stopped emotionally expecting every calm moment to suddenly break apart inside. I carried emotional fear for years, even during emotionally beautiful days, because heartbreak trained my nervous heart to emotionally prepare for pain in quiet ways. But slowly something softened inside me. The emotional pressure faded slow, and honestly healing arrived quietly before I fully emotionally noticed it though. And maybe quiet healing still changes everything. I finally feel safe. That's the truth I realized tonight. Not emotionally fearless completely, just emotionally calmer inside my life. I finally feel safe, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly as emotional comfort slowly grows, and mine finally started growing too. I stopped emotionally questioning kindness, stopped emotionally fearing peaceful love, because emotional exhaustion finally taught me not every connection is built to emotionally hurt us. Now rainy midnight silence feels emotionally beautiful somehow, and honestly emotional softness feels stronger than emotional chaos now. But heartbreak taught me to appreciate that slowly. I finally feel safe, and maybe healing feels this way too. Not emotionally becoming someone different, just emotionally becoming gentler with what you've been through. I finally feel safe, and maybe that's enough tonight. Some heartbreak emotionally weakens people before emotionally teaching them light. And I think my heart is finally relearning that light now. If this feels familiar, please trust your healing pace. Your heart does not need emotional perfection to emotionally deserve a peaceful place. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally calmer tonight somehow. I finally feel safe, and honestly, I think my heart finally believes peace can stay. Some memories stay warm even after people change, even after emotional distance grows and life no longer feels the same. Some memories stay warm, and honestly I'm grateful now. Not every part of heartbreak needs emotional bitterness somehow. There was a time remembering you emotionally hurt too deeply. Now certain moments return softly, like old photographs visiting me quietly. I still remember rainy evenings, the way we laughed without trying, back when emotional safety felt natural, before we slowly started changing. And honestly, I no longer hate those memories. Some memories stay warm, that's what healing finally taught me. You can emotionally outgrow someone without emotionally erasing what they meant completely. Some memories stay warm, and now I know some emotional connections soften as emotional maturity grows, and mine quietly started growing too. I stopped emotionally fighting nostalgia, stopped emotionally fearing the past, because emotional recovery finally taught me not every beautiful moment needs to emotionally last. Now midnight rain feels peaceful instead of emotionally making me fall apart. And honestly, emotional acceptance feels gentler on a tired heart. But heartbreak taught me that slowly some memories stay warm. And maybe healing feels this way too, not emotionally needing someone back, just emotionally appreciating what you once lived through. Some memories stay warm, and maybe that's enough tonight. Some heartbreak emotionally softens slowly as your heart relearns emotional light. And I think mine is finally relearning that light now. If this feels familiar, please trust emotional growth. Not every memory needs emotional sadness to emotionally remain close. Now I'm standing in the silence, feeling emotionally softer tonight somehow. Some memories stay warm, and honestly, I think that warmth helped me heal. Healing began quietly the moment my heart stopped fighting everything. The moment emotional survival no longer felt like the only way of living. Healing began quietly inside ordinary midnight hours, inside peaceful rainy silence, inside finally believe emotional calm could still be ours. There was a time heartbreak hardened me, made emotional softness feel unsafe. I carried emotional fear everywhere, trying emotionally not to break. But slowly something changed inside me. The emotional pressure faded slow, and honestly peace arrived quietly before I fully emotionally noticed it though. And maybe quiet healing changes people most. When the heart softens, that's when emotional light returns again. Not because life becomes perfect, but because emotional peace slowly enters in. When the heart softens, and now I know some emotional wounds recover quietly as emotional gentleness grows, and mine finally started growing too. I stopped emotionally fearing silence, stopped emotionally preparing for pain every night. Because emotional exhaustion finally taught me not every calm moment disappears out of sight. Now rainy midnight windows feel emotionally beautiful somehow. And honestly, emotional comfort feels stronger than emotional chaos now. But heartbreak taught me to appreciate that slowly. When the heart softens, maybe healing feels exactly this way too. Not emotionally forgetting the sadness, just emotionally becoming softer with what you've been through. When the heart softens, maybe that's enough tonight. Some heartbreak emotionally changes people before feeling emotionally calmer tonight somehow, when the heart softens. And honestly, I think that's when real healing finally begins.